The Sterling Crown Knights, perched atop one of New York City's most luxurious skyscrapers, was more than a restaurant. It was a stage for the elite. Golden chandeliers cast a warm glow over tables adorned with crisp white linens, where CEOs, movie stars, and billionaires dined beneath a canopy of ego and ambition. The rooftop view of the city skyline was breathtaking, but the real drama unfolded among the clinking glasses and whispered power plays. Amara James, a 22-year-old waitress and full-time nursing student, moved through the chaos with grace. Her apron was pristine, her notepad steady, but her mind was elsewhere on her dream of opening a health clinic in her struggling neighborhood, where kids still got sick from contaminated water and dreams died young. Working double shifts at Sterling Crown was just a means to an end, a way to fund her education and her vision. But on this particular Friday night, Table 9 would change her life forever. A sleek black Rolls-Royce glided to a stop outside the restaurant. The valet sprinted to open the door, and out stepped Victor Langston, a tech tycoon whose name was synonymous with wealth, arrogance, and ruthlessness. Known for crushing competitors with a single tweet, firing assistants for minor slights, and buying silence when it suited him, Victor walked into the restaurant like he owned the city itself, flanked by his girlfriend, Tabitha, a former model with a practiced smile, and to venture capitalists who hung on his every word. He strode to Table 9 with an air of untouchable superiority. Amara approached the table, her smile professional but warm. Before she could introduce herself, Victor's voice cut through the air like a blade. "You're late," he barked, his diamond-studded watch glinting as he pointed at her. "Actually, sir, I was assigned to your table the moment you arrived," Amara replied calmly, her voice steady despite the accusation. Victor's eyes narrowed. "Are you talking back to me?" His tone was sharp, daring her to challenge him further. "No, sir, I'm here to serve you," she said, her words polite but her gaze unflinching. Victor didn't like that. He snapped his fingers as if she were a pet. "Water now." Tabitha smirked, her perfectly manicured nails tapping the table. One of the VCs leaned in and whispered, loud enough for Amara to hear, "Someone needs to learn their place." As Amara walked away to fetch the water, Victor muttered, "Typical." The word landed like a slap, but Amara didn't flinch. She poured the water, placed the menus, and endured the table's passive-aggressive jabs with quiet dignity. But when Victor accidentally dropped his spoon and ordered her to pick it up, the room seemed to hold its breath. The table erupted in laughter as Amara bent down, retrieved the spoon, and stood tall again. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice unwavering. "No," Victor replied, leaning forward with a sneer. "Thank me." Then, in a whisper meant only for her, he added, "People like you don't get to speak here. Just serve and disappear." Every cell in Amara's body screamed in protest, but she held her composure. She smiled, nodded, and continued her work. The night wore on, with Victor's group growing louder and more demanding. The other diners, caught up in their own conversations, barely noticed the tension at Table 9, but Amara felt it building, a storm gathering strength. The sentence that shattered the room, the breaking point, came during dessert. Victor had ordered the restaurant's signature Disha gold-leafed soufflé with imported cherries, priced at a small fortune. When it arrived, he took one bite and shoved the plate across the table, complaining it was too cold. Amara apologized and offered to replace it, but Victor wasn't interested in solutions. With a dramatic flourish, he pushed the plate harder, sending it tumbling off the edge. It crashed at Amara's feet, shards of porcelain scattering across the polished floor. The restaurant fell silent. Every head turned. Phones emerged from pockets, their cameras trained on the scene. Victor stood, his face flushed with anger. "You call this service?" he shouted. "You don't belong here. You think just because you smile and wear an apron, you matter. Let me tell you something, you're nobody." The word echoed through the room, heavy with venom. Customers gasped. A manager took a hesitant step forward, unsure how to intervene, but Amara, still kneeling to pick up the broken pieces, raised her hand to stop him. She stood slowly, brushing porcelain dust from her hands, and looked Victor directly in the eyes. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm but carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken truths. "Then why is your mother the one who taught me how to serve with pride?" The room froze. Victor's jaw dropped. Tabitha's smirk vanished. One of the VCs stammered, "What did you say?" Amara stepped closer, her voice steady and clear. "Yes, Linda Langston, your mother. I took care of her for months during her cancer treatment. She used to tell me, people will look at your skin and your job and decide your worth. Don't let them. She gave me her favorite bracelet the day before she passed. Amara's hand reached into her apron pocket, pulling out a delicate silver bracelet engraved with the initials L. I have more dignity in my pinky than your entire boardroom. The restaurant erupted in whispers. Phones were still recording, capturing every word. Victor's face drained of color, his usual confidence replaced by something resembling fear. You're lying, he muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. Amara didn't waver. Ask your mother's lawyer. I signed the hospice forms. You didn't even visit her on her birthday. Tabitha pushed back her chair, her eyes darting. Between Victor and Amara, you said she died in peace, she said, her voice sharp. You never mentioned a nurse. I didn't think it mattered, Victor replied weakly. It does, Tabitha snapped, grabbing her purse and storming out. The VCs exchanged uneasy glances, their loyalty to Victor visibly shaken. The manager, still stunned, approached Amara and asked softly, Is that true? Amara nodded. I was her nurse. I stayed when others walked away, including her son. The whispers in the restaurant grew into a roar. Victor, the untouchable billionaire, stood humiliated, his carefully crafted image crumbling under the weight of a single sentence. The cameras kept rolling, and by morning, the world would know. By sunrise, Amara's words had ignited a social media wildfire. The hashtags #WaitressWithGrace and #VictorExposed trended the viral firestorm globally, with millions watching the grainy cell phone footage of the confrontation. Celebrities weighed in, praising Amara's courage. News outlets dubbed it the night power was redefined. Amara, who had 86 followers on her modest social media account before the incident, woke up to over 3 million. News vans camped outside her small apartment, and her nursing college issued a public statement of support, calling her a shining example of compassion and resilience. But the story ran deeper than headlines. Victor, holed up in his penthouse, couldn't escape the guilt that gnawed at him. His PR firm dropped him, citing irreconcilable damage to his brand. One of his key investors pulled out, and his company's board demanded a cut. Victor stayed silent, his phone buzzing with notifications he couldn't bring himself to read. Instead, he called his mother's lawyer. The conversation lasted hours, and when it ended, Victor was in tears. Linda Langston had indeed hired a private nurse during her final months, someone who reminded her of the kindness she'd spent her life championing. She had written a letter, sealed and unopened, addressed to the one who stayed. The lawyer confirmed that Amara was that nurse, describing late-night conversations, gospel songs, and moments of quiet dignity that had brought Linda peace in her final days. The letter, still in the lawyer's possession, spoke of regret, love, and a wish that Victor could learn compassion from Amara. Meanwhile, Amara wasn't basking in her newfound fame. She was exhausted, overwhelmed by the attention, but determined to use it for good. In a viral livestream, she spoke directly to her followers. We don't need more billionaires. We need more people who see each other. She announced a crowdfunding campaign for her dream health clinic, and donations poured in, small contributions from everyday people, larger sums from celebrities, and even a pledge from the mayor's office. Weeks later, a new twist unfolded. Victor appeared outside Amara's apartment building, a black car idling behind him. Reporters and cameras swarmed as he stepped out, holding a small envelope. Amara, wary but curious, agreed to meet him in the cafe she now co-owned with her aunt, a cozy space filled with the aroma of fresh coffee and baked goods. Victor placed the unopened letter on the table. I never read it, he said, his voice low. I should have been there for her, and I definitely shouldn't have treated you the way I did. His voice cracked, and for the first time, Amara saw something human in his eyes. I didn't come for pity. I came to say I'm sorry. Amara took the letter, her hand steady as she opened it. She read aloud, her voice filling the quiet cafe. The letter spoke of late-night conversations, of a nurse who sang gospel songs and braided Linda's hair, of a young woman who reminded her that kindness was the truest form of wealth. That was you? Victor asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Amara nodded. And still you yelled at me in front of everyone. I know, he said, his head bowed. I'm sorry. Why are you here now? She asked, folding the letter carefully. Because I want to fund your clinic, he said. No strings, just gratitude. Amara studied him, searching for any trace of manipulation. Not for your image, she said firmly. I lost that already, Victor said with a sad smile. This isn't about me. The offer was tempting, but Amara had one condition. Only if the clinic is named after your mother, not you. Victor blinked, then nodded. Done. Months later, the Linda Langston Healing Center opened in Amara's hometown. The ribbon-cutting ceremony drew a crowd of locals, reporters, and even a few celebrities. The clinic offered free care to families in need, with state-of-the-art equipment and a staff of dedicated nurses, many of whom Amara had personally trained. Victor attended, not as a speaker or a figurehead, but as a volunteer, quietly handing out water bottles to guests. Amara stood before the crowd, her voice steady as she told the story of a waitress, a billionaire, and a mother's legacy. "One sentence can change everything," she said. "Not because it's loud, but because it's true. Kindness always wins." The clinic thrived, serving thousands in its first year. Victor, though never fully redeemed in the public eye, found a quiet purpose in supporting the center's work. Amara continued her nursing studies, balancing her new role as the clinic's director with her unwavering commitment to her community. The story of that night at Sterling Crown Nights became a legend, a reminder that power isn't found in wealth or status, but in the courage to speak truth and the strength to see others. Amara's one sentence had done more than silence a billionaire. It had sparked a movement, proving that even in a world of golden chandeliers and diamond-studded egos, a single voice could shake the skyline.